It's a group of men. When they get to 50, they start falling apart. I found out just by doing this podcast. There's this term called Hospice Wife. So,
Never heard of it.
Right. So I'll give you how it is. Hospice Wife. So a Hospice Wife, basically a man above 50. Marries a woman. Finally, he's been playing the field for 50 years and now he's ready to get married. His body is falling apart. He's got hypertension. He's got diabetes, heart issues, the whole nine. And now he's ready to get married and settle down. So now he marries a woman maybe 10 years younger or maybe in the same age group. And now he's marrying her, but only for him to have someone to take care of him.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So I basically found this particular video out there, and I thought I would go into it just simply because, again, you know, we have to understand that we are in a gender war. And I recently did a video talking about that because it's actually a very serious thing. And I don't think a lot of people really understand what's going on. And it's one of the proverbs that I throw up a lot. And it basically says that if you go to an angry person, you will learn their ways, and basically you will endanger your soul. And the reason why this is important is because, see, what most people do, and this is just most people, period, is they go through something in their life, they receive pain and hurt from said thing, and now they believe that I need to stop other people from doing this thing. I don't want anybody else to fall into the same trap that I did. And in essence, that's actually a really great thing. And we as human beings, we really don't want, you know, to fall into the trap that another person fell in. But the problem a lot of times is that we're not doing enough to push people forward. Instead, what we do is we give them something that ensnares them, and it basically keeps them in a different type of trap. Okay, so how does this work? Well, anytime that we are afraid, okay, you know, high levels of fear, people talk about fight or flight. And many of us kind of understand that, right? So, you know, when you basically, you know, trap anything like an animal into a corner, it's going to fight for its life, or it's going to do its best to flee. All right. But there's actually a third thing that happens, especially with animals that tend to be prey a lot. And this is they basically give up. OK, and nobody really talks about that, but it's a real thing. You know, we can see it. I think that there's goats. I think they call them fainting goats. And if I can find a video of it, I'll try to put it up so you can see it. But basically, if you take these goats, and people have a lot of fun with them because they like to scare them, and the goat just immediately freezes and it falls over. And the reason why it's doing that is doing that from a God perspective. It's a way to protect the herd. While it doesn't protect itself, it protects the herd. So if you basically have, 100, of these goats out there, and then a wolf pops up, the wolf is not going to eat 50, goats if all of them fall over. That's not how predators work. They only take what they need, which is another very interesting thing about God. So as these goats faint and fall over, 3 of them might faint, but unfortunately, 1 of them will lose its life, and the other 2 will probably pop back up after, 15 minutes or so, or whatever the time span is that they faint, and then they will join the rest of the herd, right? And like I say, that's a way to protect the herd. I even noticed this happens with rabbits. I had a dog a while ago that caught a rabbit. And it was really interesting to watch the rabbit, because once the rabbit felt like there was nowhere for it to go, that it could not flee, and it knew it could not fight my dog, so it just kind of sat there. And its little body was just shaking and everything, but you could tell it just thought it was done. And my dog picked it up in its mouth and didn't kill it. It usually, most animals, they'll try to break the prey's neck. But my dog didn't do that because, I don't think my dog really knew how to kill anything. And it brought it back to me. But it was interesting because the whole time, the rabbit didn't move. It didn't really try to, get away or anything. It just kind of laid in, my dog's mouth. And I could tell, like I said, it was still alive because, it was shaking. And so I basically, told my dog to release it. My dog released it. I brought my dog back in the house. And after about 30 seconds, the rabbit got up and it ran off into the woods. Now, here's the key. A lot of us, when we get information, we become paralyzed. All right. We don't always fight or flight. Many of us become paralyzed. And see, the devil knows this. And that's another reason why, again, I don't like 1-minute videos, because it's just enough time to give you a feeling of fear without giving you all of the ramifications of when you might need to lean in this and you might not need to lean into this. And so, again, do I believe that this lady has gone through this? Do I believe she's seen it? Yeah, I do believe she's seen it. Okay, have I run into men that talk this way? A few. Have I run into women that have gotten caught up in this? Yeah, a few. But when you start to talk about the large amount of men out here and everything else that's going on, do I see a lot of men lining up with this? And the answer is a big fat no. Okay, they just don't. And there are certain things that you can do to protect yourself. I'm actually going to do another video tomorrow, or maybe even I might put it out later today. But I do think that these two videos should be separate, just simply because of the energy that's within each video. But I did want to say that, like, even if you look at Ruth, and we love to talk about Ruth in the Christian community, Ruth's husband, i.e. Boaz, was probably at least 15 to 20 years older than she was. It's really hard to say that they were any closer in age, okay, because he literally says, my daughter. So he recognized just by looking at her that there was enough of an age gap between them that she would be, really among, women that he might have actually birthed. All right. So when you start to look at Boaz, he was kind of like, back in the day, a little bit of an OG when it came down to Ruth, And so from that perspective, we have to see it like that. But even in all of that, okay, was Ruth not taken care of? Did Ruth not end up with a much better life, through her marriage to Boaz? And see, again, that's the side that, the devil doesn't like, to talk about. Now, am I saying every woman should be looking for an older man? No, not by any stake of the imagination. And like I said, I'm going to put up another video. So be looking for that video for some tips if you are going to date older men. Because I do believe that you do need to go in and date older men with your eyes wide open and not believe that, oh, well, he's just like the men, my age. Because no, there's going to be some notable differences. And there's plenty of videos out here that talk about it. But I wanted to put up one on this channel because, like I said, I try to do things slightly more from a balanced place and also slightly more from a Christian place. So I'm hoping that will be a blessing to you. But again, I would just encourage you all, as you're hearing these things, make sure that you're doing your best to research them. Don't get so caught up in it, because just like she's talking about, and I don't even know why she used the age 50, because most of the time when I hear this, it's really about men closer to the age of 60. But in my life, just to give you an example, in my life, most of the women, okay, have actually passed away earlier. And many of the men are still here on the earth and thriving. Recently, I actually went to, I'll just be honest, my aunt's funeral. And, it was interesting because my dad, a lot of his friends, were there. And just like I said, my dad is still alive, but my mother has passed away. Okay. And she passed away like 10, 15 years ago, and she was younger than my dad. And a lot of my dad's friends, they're still walking around doing things, talking and giggling and having fun. And many of them, their wives have passed away. So we have to remember that a lot of times we're in a box when we receive information. It's the same thing with me. I'm in a box where, women tend to, pass away earlier. But that doesn't mean every woman is going to pass away earlier. And then also, when you look at statistics, you have to look at statistics and actually balance them. It's like I've told you, you do not want to be average. I am encouraging each and every last person that watches me, whether you're male or female, not to be average. The average person is overweight. The average person is depressed. The average person is addicted to some kind of drug. The average person, especially over 35, is on some kind of medication. The average person in America is not what any of you want to be. You want to be ahead of the average because the way that this country deals with the average person is absolutely horrific, to be honest with you. And you cannot allow yourself to be a part of a system that you know does not have your best interest at heart. All right. So I just wanted to say all of that to just kind of rebuke some of this stuff that you might be seeing. And like I said, look for the next video that will actually talk about if you are going to date, for the women that are watching, if you're going to date a man that's older, there's just going to be some tips in there for you to actually help you do that and do that well. So anyway, please like, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you all in the very next video.